When I was trying to trade by just looking at the charts and not paying attention to economic data or news, it was extremely difficult to stay consistently profitable. Like, sure, I would catch a win here or there, but I kept giving my money back to the markets. And it's because I wasn't paying attention to the things that was actually making the charts move. So if you're interested in learning how the news and headlines can impact the markets, here's how we're going to do it. First, I'm going to talk about NAS 100 because that's where my trade actually was taken on. So we're going to cover what NAS 100 is, what impacts it, and how things in the economy and the environment can actually make NAS push up or push down. Then I'm going to show you the headline that came out while I was trading live with hundreds of other traders. I'm going to tell you what the headline means and why I was expecting it to make NASDAQ drop after the headline came out. But the headline isn't enough for me to just take an entry. I still use technical analysis. So I'm going to show you the exact entry I took, why I took it, the confirmations I was looking for, and how did I manage the trade as it was going into profit. Sound good? Let's get right into it. So what is NAS 100? Because if we're trading it, we should probably understand what this actually is, right? So NAS is considered a risk asset. A risk asset is anything people invest in that has potential for high rewards, but it also comes with more uncertainty or risk. An example of this would be something like stocks or crypto. Think of risk assets like a roller coaster. When things are good, people feel confident, excited, and willing to jump on. This leads to prices to go higher. But if something scary happens in the economy, people quickly get nervous and jump off. This leads to prices to drop. Why is NAS 100 considered a risk asset? Good question. I'm glad you asked. NAS 100 is an index that represents the top 100 technology and growth-focused companies like Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and Nvidia. Because these companies are focused on growth and innovation, their futures can be a little uncertain. In good economic conditions, investors typically become more optimistic, which leads them to buying more shares, pushing NAS 100 up. But during uncertainty or economic stress, investors will sell these assets in order to protect their capital and their money, causing sharp drops in NAS. A few examples of NAS actually reacting to market fear would be something like this. You can see right here, look at this sharp drop on NAS right here. Now, if you look at the date, this might be a little hard to see, but the 23rd, if you go look up February 23rd, 2022, this was when the Russia-Ukraine war was announced. So we ended up getting that market fear. Right? Now, obviously, it didn't hold. That's a whole different story. It wasn't actually the US, but the announcement of it was enough to give us that drop in NAS. And if we come to where NAS currently is, something a lot more recent, which we can see the drop started happening above here. About the middle of February, early February, Trump started doing tariffs. And this caused a lot of downside on NASDAQ. This entire drop for the last 6 weeks or so has been nothing but trade wars, tariffs, and market fear, which has been causing investors to sell off NAS. So 2 quick examples on how market fear can actually impact something like NASDAQ. A risk asset is like a financial roller coaster, exciting but uncertain. And NAS 100 is a perfect example of this because it's full of innovative, growth-focused companies that soar when investors are confident, but it can drop sharply when that confidence fades. Are you following along? Yes? Good, because now that we have a basic understanding of how NAS works, let's get right into the charts and I can show you the headlines that caused me to take the trades on NAS. I'm going to start by bringing over my news feed, and don't get overwhelmed. I know this is just a ton of text that we're looking at. I'm going to break down just a couple pieces of this, what this means, and why this gave me that, downside bias on taking those sells that I'm going to show you on NASDAQ. So you can see here, it was at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, because I'm in the Eastern time zone. This is when I was trading live. We had a Fed speaker called Fed Goolsbee start talking. You can also see this that I highlight. This is CNBC. This is just telling us that there's an interview right now with CNBC. That's all this is. Now, when we look at the headlines, this is what this person was saying. When you have a lot of uncertainty, you have to wait for things to clear up. I'm going to break down like 2 or 3 of these headlines, and I won't read the rest of them, obviously. So when we take a look at what Fed's Goolsbee was saying, the first headline up here, when you have a lot of uncertainty, keyword uncertainty, you have to wait for things to clear up. Now, just so you understand what he's talking about, I'm going to break this down as simple as possible and not go over all of these headlines, but basically they're talking about interest rates. Like the Federal Reserve controls interest rates, and they manage inflation by controlling interest rates, right? So they're talking about interest rates when they're saying this. The next headline that we see here, Goolsbee, before judging how monetary policy reacts, now monetary policy is interest rates, reacts to tariffs, Fed needs to know how long the tariffs will last, possible retaliation, pass through to consumers. This headline right here is what we're going to focus on, at least for right now. Basically what he's saying is, based on tariffs, what Trump's doing, and the possible impact it's going to have on inflation, that's what he means here when he says pass through to consumers. CPI is Consumer Price Index. That's inflationary, right? That's an inflation data point. So what he's saying is there's a lot of uncertainty based on what Trump's doing with tariffs, right? We see the word again here, uncertainty. We see possible retaliation. We even see them saying passing through the price increase to consumers. So there's a lot of uncertainty. Do you remember what I was talking to you guys about when we were saying NAS 100 is usually something that's going to drop sharply when there's some type of market fear? Remember that? So let's actually take a look at NAS, what happened, and if we can actually catch any trades off this. So this is obviously on replay mode, right? Because I'm not going to show you the whole thing yet. You don't get that. But this is the actual trade. Now, if we take a look at the headline again, we can see that it came out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, right? That's important to note because since we're doing this on replay mode, you want to see the actual trade and what happened. You can't see this in real time unless if you watch my live recording. So look on the bottom, you see how it says 8:25? If I go one over, right, to 8:30, this is what I was watching here. Now, my concern was in taking this trade, I didn't enter yet. I was watching it at this support, right? I'm still watching technical analysis. That line's a little big. Let's make that smaller. I'm still watching technical analysis. I'm still sitting above a support, but this is one of my first confirmations of, okay, we're at least pushing down, right? Because I just told you the headline gave me a bias. Now I'm actually watching the technical confirmations for my entry. So what I'm doing here is, at least for this specific entry, because we were sitting at support, I wanted to see how this candle would close. And the next candle, all I'm doing is I want to see if it creates like an upper wick. And then as soon as it breaks lower, I'm entering it to take it back down, right? So that's what I was looking for, and that's what I wanted to see. If we go over to the next candle, right here, it dropped. So thankfully, it was slow enough for me. My entry was just about right up here. When this upper wick was created, it didn't come back into the zone, right? Because if it came back into the zone and held, that means it's holding support. I don't want that. So I wanted to hold that upper wick, create the upper wick, and then flip. And then my entry was there. Maybe I'll do this let's do this to make it easy. And my stops, give or take, were up here. Actually, my stops were up here because I was giving it some room to play. Realistically, I would have closed even before if it came back up here, because this was an entry. It was a breakout based on headlines. So I actually would have closed well before that. I put it up there just to give you some room to play, but let's do this. And the TP was somewhere down here. So we let this play out a little bit and push down again. This is about where I took partials. And then actually I took partials. Yeah, it was around here. And then the bottom of this candle, I had ended up taking the next one. I had ended up taking profit. So I'll play this out and we'll look at it now. So this was the sell, right? You can see the entry. You can see how it played out. Came right down to resistance, support. I'm sorry here. And right, so we can see that the headline came out at 8:30. We got the drop. It was market fear. NASDAQ is a risk asset, which everybody understands that now. And I'm looking for NAS sells. So I'm going to take this. The cool thing is, like I said, I was taking this live with hundreds of traders. And here, Tino, this is actually a screenshot from the live call. $5,000. You can see it right here for me. Thanks. With one single headline. It was multiple headlines. Realistically, he is over exaggerating on this one. But the one person talking gave us the bias. We got the break. We took the trade. You even see it. This one pretty cool too. I have a free trial membership for my live trading right now. And you can see it right here. $520 on NASDAQ. And this is somebody who's in the group trading live with me, took the same trade all from the free trial. So this wasn't just my trade. That's the only reason I'm showing that. So you can see, like, we all took this together and we all analyzed and saw the headline come out at the same time. This news feed here, I actually have connected to the private, like my live trading group. So inside the Discord, they have access to all of this at the same time that I do as well. And if I'm not on the computer or if I'm not trading live, they can all take the trades because they're getting the headlines sent to them directly. But this is the NAS trade that I took. The entry was here. And also you can see my take profit honestly was actually down here. I closed about 320 ticks and it held pretty nicely. But the reason I closed early, the reason I didn't even want to get into this trade for what you would consider like a swing trade or an intraday trade even, right? Now, I held this for, 20 minutes. So take a look at NAS real quick. NAS has been a little on the crazy side. We've just had the Federal Reserve interest rate decision, which I was trading that. I had taken the buys here, right? We had recovered that entire move. kind of ridiculous. Now, then the next day I was like, okay, well, maybe now this is going to be the time we finally push up on NAS. Once again, I took buys, recovered the entire move again. So this has happened 3 or 4 days in a row. And I'm like, NAS, in my opinion, long-term is going to be bullish. Except from this headline, like this headline was my reason to take the sells. So I don't want to hold these sells, which is exactly why like I started getting out over here even before I hit my support. Now, when we look back, I'm happy I did that because look what happened to NAS, right? It hit the support, flipped right back up. It recovered the entire move again. And once again, like just to kind of prove the point on this one, if we take a look over here, these buys, like this entry here and these buys, you can see that push up. We even took those on the live call too. I just didn't want to take it, but some of our traders did. So if you take a look here, you can see these are the buys right here. You can see the time that I was breaking it down for everybody, for everyone who's in NAS. So these buys I can still see happening. I just didn't want to take it, but I had a very, very strong feeling, which I had posted right here. NAS has recovered the entire move, just like we said it might do. And you can see there, this is why I didn't want to hold the sells. I had reasons to take the sells. I didn't want to hold the sells. This is how understanding your bias long-term and short-term can help you stay profitable in the markets. It didn't matter what I was trading, whether it's gold, NASDAQ, US 30, GBP, JPY, every single one of these are impacted by something in the economy and the world. Once I learned this and how to apply it to my trades, I literally went from a struggling trader who was still working overnights as a police officer in Miami to someone who's actively managing over 7 figures in capital for my investors. Hopefully by watching this, you can see how beneficial and profitable it can be if you implement this into your analysis.